Om Swastiastu, sir and friend. Today, on this occasion, I will present biochemistry final exam. First, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Marta Uli Tambunan, with SIN 241303126. Okay, next. Number one, analyze the relationship between protein degradation, amino acid metabolism, ammonia formation, and the urea cycle in explaining this condition. Provide recommended ions based on biochemical count. Okay. Uh, Excess protein is degraded into amino acids. The amino acids undergo deamination, producing ammonia atau NH3, which is toxic. In the liver, ammonia is converted into urea through the urea cycle. Excessive protein intake increases urea production, causing elevated blood urea levels and increasing the kidney's workload, which may lead to reduced kidney function. Okay, analyze. Number one, excess protein. Increased amino acid degradation. Number two, deamination. Deamination, ammonia formation. Number three, urea cycle converts ammonia into urea. Number four, increased urea. Higher kidney workload and possible kidney impairment. Jadi recommendationnya itu number one, consume protein according to daily requirements. Number two, maintain adequate hydration. Number three, eat a balanced diet and monitor kidney function regularly. Okay, next. Number two, explain which stage of protein biosynthesis is disrupted by this mutation and predict its effects on cellular metabolism and function. Okay, the mutation disrupt the translation initiation state, where the ribosome mRNA initiator tRNA dan initiation factors assemble to begin protein synthesis. As a result, protein synthesis becomes much slower, reducing the production of enzymes and structural proteins. Analisisnya yaitu yang pertama, mutation affects the translation initiation factor. Jadi yang kedua itu ribosome assembly on mRNA is impaired. Number three, protein synthesis decreases. Number four, reduced enzyme production slows cellular metabolism. Number five, cell growth, repair, and normal function are impaired. Jadi ini gambarannya. Okay, kita next to okay, number 3. Analyze why this condition occurs and explain how the amino acid biosynthesis pathway affects organismal growth. The mutation disrupts an enzyme in the tryptophan biosynthesis pathway, preventing the bacterium from producing a tri- producing tryptophan. Since tryptophan is essential for protein synthesis, the bacterium can only grow when it is supplied by the growth medium. Analyze, analyze. Number one, mutation blocks tryptophan biosynthesis. Number two, tryptophan cannot be synthesized. Number three, protein synthesis is reduced without tryptophan. Number four, growth occurs only when tryptophan is available externally. Oke, jadi ini gambarnya. Kita bisa next ke number 4. Evaluate the consequences of this disorder on energy production, nitrogen balance, and overall body metabolism. Transaminase deficiency impairs the transamination process, resulting the conversion of amino acid into metabolic intermediates. Consequently, amino acid degradation and energy production decrease while nitrogen metabolism becomes disrupted. Jadi analisisnya itu yaitu yang pertama transamination is impaired. Yang kedua amino acid degradation decreases. Number 3, ATP production from amino acid catabolism is reduced. Number 4, nitrogen balance is disrupted, leading to abnormal nitrogen metabolism. Number 5, overall metabolism becomes less efficient. Jadi gambar nomor 4 itu yaitu ini. Kita bisa lanjut ke nomor 5, yaitu analyze the cause of hyper, uh, hyperam, hyperammonemia based on the urea cycle mechanism and explain why this condition is highly dangerous to the nervous system. A mutation in ornithine transcarbamylase atau OTC disrupts the urea cycle, preventing ammonia from being converted into urea. As a result, ammonia accumulates in the blood, causing hyperammonemia. Jadi analisisnya itu yang pertama OTC deficiency blocks the urea cycle. Number 2, ammonia cannot be converted into urea. Number 3, blood ammonia levels increase hyper hyperammonia. Number 4, ammonia is neurotoxic and damage brain cell. Number 5, severe cases may cause seizures, coma, or death. Ini dari gambar dari urea cycle. Okay. Next, number 6. Explain the process of purine degradation leading to uric acid formation and evaluate why dietary change can help reduce the symptoms of gout. Okay, purines are degraded into hypoxanthine, the xanthine, and finally uric acid by the enzyme xanthine oxidase. Excess uric acid form crystals that accumulate in the joints, causing inflammation and pain. Oke, analisisnya itu yang pertama purine to hypoxanthine to xanthine to uric acid. Number two, excess uric acid form urate crystal in joints. Number three, high purine foods increase uric acid production. Number four, a low purine diet reduces uric acid levels and gout symptoms. Jadi inilah gambar dari number 7. Compare the degradation of purines and pyrimidines and analyze why they produce different physiological effects. Purine degradation produces uric acid, while pyrimidine degradation produces beta-alanine, beta-aminosobutyrate atau CO2 dan NH3, which are water soluble and can be further metabolized or excreted. Jadi analisisnya itu adalah yang pertama purines to hypoxanthine to xanthine to uric acid. Yang kedua pyrimidines to beta-alanine, beta-aminosobutyrate, CO2 dan NH3. Yang ketiga itu uric acid has low solubility and can form crystal in joints. Number 4, pyrimidine degradation products are soluble and do not accumulate as crystal. Ini adalah gambarnya. Number 8. Analyze the relationship between purine and pyrimidine biosynthesis and cancer cell growth and explain why some chemotherapy drugs target the pathways. Rapidly dividing cancer cells require large amounts of purines and pyrimidines to synthesize DNA and RNA. Increased nucleotide biosynthesis supports continuous cell proliferation. Many chemotherapy drugs inhibit enzymes involved in these pathways, reducing nucleotide production and preventing cancer cell division. Jadi analisisnya itu yang pertama, rapid cell division increases nucleotide demand. Yang kedua, purine and pyrimidine biosynthesis is upregulated. Yang ketiga, chemotherapy inhibits nucleotides synthesis enzymes. Keempat, reduksi DNA atau RNA synthesis slows or stop cancer cell growth. Jadi ini adalah gambarnya dan berikutnya soal nomor 9. Evaluate whether this virus follows the central dogma of molecular biology directly. Explain the mechanism of gene expression in RNA viruses. RNA viruses do not always follow the central dogma directly. Their RNA genome can function as mRNA or be converted into RNA in retroviruses. Before protein synthesis, viral proteins are then produced using the host cell's ribosomes. Analysisnya itu yang pertama, RNA serves as the genetic material. Yang kedua, positive sense RNA acts directly as mRNA. Yang ketiga, retroviruses can convert RNA into DNA using reverse transcript test. Yang keempat, viral proteins are synthesized by the host cells. Jadi ini adalah gambar dari nomor 9 ini. 10. Explain why plasmids are chosen as vectors instead of bacterial chromosomes and analyze the characteristics of plasmids that support genetic engineering. Plasmids are preferred because they are small, circular DNA molecules that replicate independently of the bacterial chromosome. They are easy to isolate, modify, and transfer into bacterial cells, making them ideal vectors for gene cloning. Analisisnya itu yang pertama, plasmid replicate independently, two easy to insert foreign genes. Yang ketiga, easily transferred into bacterial. Yang keempat, enable efficient expression of recombinant proteins such as human insulin. Oke, itu adalah yang ke-10 dan ini kita lanjut yang ke-11 yaitu yang analyze the differences between prokaryotic and eukaryotic gene structures that cause this failure and explain possible solutions. Okay, human genes contain introns while bacteria cannot remove introns because they lack the RNA splicing mechanism. As a result, the human gene cannot be properly translated into a protein in a kali analysisnya itu yang pertama, human genes contain introns, bacterial genes generally do not. Yang kedua, E. coli cannot perform RNA splicing. Ketiga, translation fails so no functional proteins is produced. Keempat, solution use cDNA atau complementary DNA which is intron free for bacterial expression. Oke, ini adalah gambar dari eukaryotic gene strukturnya dan ini prokaryotic gene strukturnya. Oke, ini ada dua gambarnya. Oke, kita lanjut ke number 12 yaitu yang diminta evaluate the possible causes of failure based on the PCR components, template, DNA, primers, taqDNA polymerase atau DNTPS dan buffer dan Mg2 positif and the PCR cycling condition. PCR amplification may fail if one or more essential components or cycling conditions are incorrect. Poor quality template DNA, unsuitable primers, inactive taqDNA polymerase, insufficient DNTPS, incorrect Mg2 atau magnesium concentration, or improper buffer composition can prevent DNA synthesis. Incorrect denaturation, annealing, or extension temperatures and times can also inhibit amplification. Analyze number one, poor or contaminated template DNA. Number two, incorrect primer design or annealing. Number three, inactive taqDNA polymerase. Number four, incorrect DNTP atau maximum atau Mg2 positif or buffer concentration. Number 5, improper PCR cycling conditions. Jadi ini adalah gambar dari PCR process. Next to number, compare the strict applications based on their case as scientific principles, advantages, limitations, and ethical implications. PCR amplifies specific DNA sequences for different purposes. In forensics, it identifies individuals using DNA profiles. In disease diagnosis, it detects pathogens or genetic mutations. In GMO detection, it identifies inserted foreign genes in organism. Analysis itu run forensics, accurate personal identification but raises privacy concerns. Number two, disease diagnosis, rapid and sensitive detection, but contamination may cause false result. Number three, GMO detection, reliable identification of GMO is but requires specific primers and may risk public concerns about biotechnology. Oke, ini adalah gambarnya. Gambar dari PCR application. Yang berikutnya adalah nomor 14, yaitu evaluate the environmental, health, and socioeconomic benefits and risks of using this transgenic crop before it is released to the public. Drought-resistant transgenic rice can improve crop productivity and food security under dry conditions. However, its release should consider potential environmental, health, and Socioeconomic impacts. Analisisnya itu yang pertama benefits, high care yield, improve drug tolerance, and enhanced food security. Number two, environmental risks. Possible gain flow to wildlands and reduced uh, biodiversity. biodiversity. Number three, health risks. Generally considered safe after proper testing, but long-term monitoring is needed. Number four, socioeconomic aspect. Increased farmer productivity, but dependence on patented seeds may occur. Jadi ini adalah gambarnya. Okay, next number 15. If you were a member of the National Biotics Committee, formulate recommendation regarding the use of this technology by considering scientific, ethical, legal, and future generational impact. Okay. Um, CRISPR CAS9 has great potential to prevent inherited diseases, but its application in human embryos should be carefully regulated to ensure safety and ethical responsibility. Analisisnya itu scientific effective gene editing tool, but off-target mutation remain a concern. Number two, ethical. Should be limited to treating serious genetic diseases, not for human enhancement. Number three, legal. Requires strict government regulation and ethical oversight. Number four, future impact. Genetic change may be inherited by future generations, so long-term effect must be considered. Jadi ini adalah gambar dari genetic engineering. Okay, thank you, sir. And friends, I hope what has been presented has broadened our knowledge and understanding. Apologize for any shortcomings. That's all, and thank you. Paramasanti Om Santi 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 Om.